Let me know if you need help switching the reels. Have fun, you two. She went to prostrably and closed the door behind her as she left. Charlie positioned herself in front of the machine, and John stood behind her, his hand on her chair. It felt good to have him close, like he would stop anything that tried to sneak up on her. This is pretty cool, he remarked, and she nodded, scanning the paper for answers. Okay, let's narrow it down, he said grimly. What's the thing I'm most likely to make the papers? I was looking for an opening announcement, Charlie said. Yeah, but what's going to make the papers? Sorry, he added. I don't know what to say, but we have to. Sammy, Charlie said. We should have started with Sammy. We moved with we moved to the new house when I was 3. It's got to be 1982. Carefully they switched the reel. Charlie eyed the door as they did, as if nervous that Harriet might catch them making a mistake. When's your birthday? John said, saying to take her place. Don't you know? She teased. He screwed up his face and exaggerated mime of thinking. May 3rd, May 13th, he said at last. She laughed, startled. How did you know? He grinned up at her. Because I know things, he said. But why does it matter? You remember being 3 when you moved, but you didn't turn 3 until May, so we knocked out 5 months. Do you remember anything about the restaurant the night Sammy disappeared? Shirley felt herself flinch with an almost physical pain. Sorry, she said. Her face felt too hot. Sorry, you startled me. Let me think. She closed her eyes. The restaurant, the closet, hung full of costumes. She and Sammy, they were safe in the dark until the door opened and the rabbit appeared, leaning over them with its awful face, its human eyes. Charlie's heart was racing. She slowed her breathing and held out a hand. John took hold of it. She held on tight as if he could anchor her. The rabbit leaned over them, the yellow teeth beneath the mask, and behind the rabbit. While I was behind the rabbit, the restaurant was open. She could hear voices, people. There were more people in costumes. Other performers? Robots? No. She almost had it. Scarcely breathing. Charlie cried. Charlie tried to coax out the thought, scared to frighten it away. Move slowly, speak softly. She had it, snatched it from the depths of her might, and held it wrinkling in her fingers. Her eyes snapped open. John, I know when it was, she said. Later that night, when they were still wide awake, the closet opened and her mother looked in. She was hollowed by the light from behind her, smiling down at her twins, radiant in her long, elegant dress, her flowing hair, her gleaming tiara. Mommy's a princess, Charlie murmured deep, sleepily, and her mother bent down and kissed her cheek. Just for tonight, she whispered, and then she let them in the dark to sleep. She was a princess, she said excitedly. What? Who? My mother, Charlie said. She was dressed up as a princess. It was a Halloween party. John, go to November 1st. John struggled briefly with the controls, and then it was there. The headline was small, but it was on the front page of the paper on Monday, November 1st. Toddler snatched. Charlie turned away. John began to read aloud, and Charlie cut in, stopping him. Don't, she said. Just tell me if it has anything useful. He was quiet, and she stared anxiously at the door, waiting, tracing the knots and the false wood with her eyes. There's a picture, he said finally. You need to look. She leaned over his shoulder. The story had continued over an entire page inside, with pictures of the restaurant, of the family altogether, and of her and of Sammy, though neither of the twins were named on the article. In the bottom left corner, there was a picture of her father and another man. Their arms were slung around each other's shoulders, and they were grinning happily. John, Charlie said, it says they were joint owners. John said quietly, No. Charlie said, I wanted to take her eyes from the picture from the face they both knew. Suddenly, the door behind them erupted and pounded from outside, and they both jumped. Charlie, John, are you in there? Marla, this is one, and Charlie rushed to the door and threw it open. Marla, what is it? She was red-faced and breathless, and Harriet was anxiously hovering beneath her. Marla's hair was wet, water dripping down her face, but she did not wipe it away or even seem to notice. I guess the rain started. Charlie thought. The mundane reflection drifting unbinding into her head despite her alarm. He's gone! Jason's gone! Marla cried. What? John said. He's gone back to Freddy's. I know he has, she said. He kept saying he would go back. What should we do that we shouldn't just be hanging around all day? I thought he was in another room, but I looked everywhere. I know that's where he is, she said, and all in one breath and ended gasping, a faint, whining hum resonating under her breath. A canny sound she seemed unable to stop making. Oh no, Charlie said. Come on, Marla pressed. She was jittering, vibrating. John put a hand on her shoulder as if to comfort her, and she shook her head. Don't try to calm me down. Just come with me, she insisted, but there was no anger, only desperation. She turned and almost ran to the door, and John and Charlie followed with an apologetic look for the bemused librarian as they left behind them.